Hey, everyone. Kimberly Olson here with a special guest, Emily Ford. I have the honor of interviewing her this evening and sharing with you guys how incredible this woman is as my mentor, as my friend, but also as someone I look up to when it comes to branding. So, first off, Emily, thank you so much for doing this interview. I appreciate you.
I am so blessed to be here with you.
This is awesome. I just think about all the people that I've met in my life and just like this magical unicorn. And I know you hear it all the time, but for real, you have this beautiful balance between being brilliant, but also you're so down to earth and you're so funny. Like I always tell my girls, let's go whip some nays. And I got that from
Uh-huh.
you're just fun and real. And I just adore you. So everyone say hello in the comments. Let us know where you're tuning in from, city, states, province, country. How many of you would like to know how to build an unforgettable brand, a brand that's going to stand the test of time, a brand that is truly authentic and in alignment with who you are, and also creates a movement, makes a difference? That's what we're going to be talking about with Emily. Now, I know, Emily, you don't have a background in marketing and business and branding. You actually learned all of this through the direct sales space and how you grew up through that as an entrepreneur on social media. Tell us a little bit about how your brand came to be, because I know you talk about building or branding the build, but tell us a little bit about the branding piece, because you have to admit, like, you have an iconic brand, and I would love for you to share with us how you've been able to grow it into what it is today.
That is such a great question, and I always wish I could go back to when I first started with like 500 Facebook friends and like the evolution of the brand. And I think, like a lot of people, I got into a business and I realized, oh, I need people to build the business. I need people to sell products to. And so very quickly I realized, oh, it doesn't really work to just like post my products and to post my opportunity. I need to give value because I don't want to speak to the same 500 people. I want to grow my audience. And so I just started to trial and error and also get to know myself more of what are the passions, what are the interests, what are the skills I currently have that I could use to build my audience, to build my brand. And so I was doing it because I needed to build an income. Like, first, it wasn't about purpose, impact, mission. It was literally because I needed to build an income. And I figured out really early on, okay, what's going to make, the realtor in town want to follow my content? What's going to make, the person across the country want to follow my content? It is by giving them a tremendous amount of value. And so I started to follow the rhythm of trial and error and testing. And that's really where I really started to develop a personal brand, I think, within the space at the time in the direct selling world, is I was doing it different than a lot of other people. A lot of other people, you looked at their personal brands and it was like all you saw was the company they were partnered with. And so dude, you don't want to do that. You don't want to brand the company. You want to brand you, because what if you change? What if you pivot? And they're not joining you because of the company. They're joining because of you. And so that was like the start of everything. And then it's evolved over time with all the things that I do here today.
Yeah, I mean, it was Fortify and now it's Fortivine. So we're going to have to talk about that too. How long would you say it took you when you started on social media and started, like you said, offering value? You weren't really, I'm guessing, weren't like, I'm building a personal brand. Like, I feel like when you started, because that was over a decade ago, right? It wasn't really the language. Now it's pretty mainstream. How long would you say it took you when you first started posting to like really feel like this is what you were doing full time? You weren't going to ever have to look at corporate because you like grew up in this industry. How long do you think it took you? Because I think people get a little misconception around how long things take. What would you say as far as the trial and error and figuring out how to offer value and all of that?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I dove into the pool and I cannonballed in, right? And you have to keep in mind, I was 23, no business experience. My friends were in college, right? And so in my first year, I made like $30,000. My second year, I became like the youngest six-figure earner. But then it was the third year where I became a seven-figure earner. And
Wow.
that's when that's when like I was doing similar things. It just took time for it to compound. And because I was showing people the build of a business and they got to watch, and I think I was a little fueled by proving people wrong, right? Like I was
Of
like, I'm gonna,
course.
there
Yes.
was a little bit of that in the beginning for sure. But because I was giving them a show, honestly, I was
Giving them a
giving.
show. I love it.
Yeah, and that's what people, if we think about why people are so into all these things like Love Island, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, it's because it's a show.
Yeah.
And that's what I started to do is I didn't just show the moment on stage. I showed you when I got a no-show in the parking lot. And that's what made people lean in for sure. And so I would say, and again, full time because I unplugged the TV when I started and I financially like needed this to work, right? I
Right.
didn't have a choice when I was younger. And so that was me 3 years, day in and day out, literally nonstop. That I saw then the momentum.
That's amazing. That's so inspiring. And it just goes to show you guys, it's like bring people along for the journey and you don't have to be a million steps ahead of them. In fact, that can almost like cause too much of a gap where they can't relate. So capitalize on where you are right now in your business as far as building and all of that. So when it comes to like as you've evolved and really because you speak on stages globally, like your brand is very well known and your messaging that you share on stage and through your work that you do is you're very vocal about your beliefs. You're very vocal about, being a strong Christian and calling people to be able to step up and break those generational, chains and all the things. I'm glad that Dr. Sherry's on here because that's a lot of the work she's doing. So tell us like what that was like for you, because at first you're kind of establishing yourself and I'm sure you got tons of attention and accolades, achieving that at such a young age. I'm sure the ego was like, yeah, right. Like you're an achiever like I am. But then
Oh
you
my
kind of went the other way. I feel like you're now just, of course you want to achieve, but I feel like it's more important to you that you're living out your mission and impacting people. So how did that happen for you? Was that recent? Was that something that happened as you were
God.
building your business? What was that like?
This is such a great question. And the most beautiful thing about a personal brand, like when you really get it, it's like you don't have to make anything up. What you need to do is reveal and accept
Ooh, that was so good.
who and what you
Reveal.
are.
Yes.
Reveal and accept of what you already are. And so I think there's like this like thing people do where they feel like they have to make stuff up. And
Yes.
I do not believe that. And so what I did at a very young age, I climbed a mountain. I got to the top of the mountain and I'm, 30 years old, multiple houses, cars, this, that. And I was like, who am I? What am I? And what is all this for? And I had one of those, I don't know, like if it's a midlife crisis when you're 30, but I really did. I mean, I did. I literally went to Africa. I went and did mission work because I was like, what I thought, I thought that I was supposed to achieve something and then I was gonna get like another thing. And I don't know what I thought. And what I realized is that I was living for the wrong things. Like I was trying to prove my worth. And, I was raised by a single mom and I didn't have a father figure and I didn't, have the best of upbringings, right? And so I was looking for love and attention, and I did it through work. And now, listen, I'm grateful because there's lessons in everything, but for me, I went on this journey of trying to learn and understand why I was the way I was. So in that period of a couple years of healing, learning, finding Jesus in a much deeper way, like I wasn't talking about generational transference because I was living it and understanding it and breaking chains. But then when I got to the other side of it, I'm like, okay, I'm most powerfully positioned to serve who I once was. And I just broke through all this stuff. Like, why wouldn't I make this a part of my mission? And so if you look at like every kind of few years of my life and brand, I'm always bringing something into it that I've learned, that I've become
Learning
skilled
something.
at. And it's like, I do, okay, I learn, okay, I do it, I teach it, I become it, and then if it feels right, I will bring it into my brand. And so that's how I've continued to evolve, and a brand that stays the same becomes irrelevant. And I think that's sometimes what you see in the space is like, it's not that people have stayed the same, but their brands have stayed the same because they haven't consciously thought about bringing in new material, new messaging, because it does take deep thought, deep care, and introspection to bring it to the
Yes.
world. Would you not agree? I mean, that's what you do so
Oh,
well.
yeah. And it's almost like thought leadership, but wherever you are, right? So your thought leadership could be a different way to approach raising little kids. It could be looking at what plan B looks like after you retire. Like, just what are your thoughts on it? I feel like our content has become a bit, chat GPT and just here's 3 tips. But what do you really think about things? Like, what have you learned yourself? And I think that people just think, oh, who would want to know? Or I don't even know. And I think that's cool that you said just being very introspective to say, like, what have you learned and how have you grown and all of that. I love that so much. What would you say? Because I know that like you love bougie stuff, just like I do, and you're just always dressed to the nines and you're just gorgeous. And like I said, you also are just so strong in your faith and like so down to earth. Some of the ladies in my community really struggle with wealth. And what I mean by that is being in alignment with it because they were, raised where you give all your money to the church, or they don't believe that they deserve it, or they make some and they spend it all. And there's just this disconnect I see. And being that you have, you are wealthy and you give generously, what advice do you have for those that kind of feel like they're being selfish by wanting nice things or to grow their net worth and things like that? What are your thoughts on that?
Mm. Well, it comes back to a belief thing, right? The first thing, it's like, God, where was I? This like group of younger women were like, what does it take to be a millionaire? And how can I get there? And I'm like, the first thing is you have to believe that you could actually do that with
Mhm.
absolute certainty. And I can tell, I mean, I could sit down 20 people and go eat to each one of them, and I can tell by the way they answer, by the way they look at me, if they actually believe they could achieve that. And so it first comes from the belief element of it. And, when it comes to our work, this is why we have to examine our life and our gifting, because for me, if I look at, okay, what am I actually gifted in? And how could I amplify my message to reach more people? Well, if I'm doing that and I'm serving other people and I am, offering programs, all the things you can do that is in exchange for money, right? And like for me in my mindset, I'm thinking, I just want to expand and help more people. And my calling is too great to live a very small life. And so I think of calling as a mandate. I don't think it's an
Mm.
I don't think it's an option. Like it's not an option for me. It is a mandate for me. So the minute you understand your calling and you make it your mandate, the money and all that stuff will move with you.
Mhm.
Not even like focused on the money. The money's a byproduct of me being in alignment with my divine assignment. And the truth of the matter is most people like look, oh, and all they can focus on what they're not instead of what they are. And
It's
that
true.
is
Mhm.
that is like the biggest way to mind F yourself. And, I wasn't the smartest in school. I really struggled to like academically, but I was very gifted when it came to speech communications and when it came to, babysitting all the teachers' kids and, like class
Yeah.
president. But put me in a math class, I hardly passed, right? And so it's like whatever you decide to focus on and lean into, then you got to glorify the gifts by becoming really good at it. And that's where you can get paid a lot of money when you actually identify what am I good at? And how can I be the best at this? Because most people are not playing to be the best at anything. They're haphazardly halfway doing it. And that's why they never become a millionaire or seven-figure earner above and beyond. And when you understand, I need to find my gifting, I need to glorify my gifts, I need to become so much better at it, I need to expand and not be selfish, but in service, the income will move with it. And if your heart posture is in the right place, what are you going to do with the income? You're going to turn it around and use it for the greater good. You're going to use it in service. You're going to use it to build programs. You're going to use it for charity. You're going to use it for church. You're going to use it to reinvest into building companies that then employ people. And it goes and goes and goes and goes. But we can't even get to that kind of conversation if you don't believe in yourself.
Ah, that's so good. So I'm going to ask you about, some of the common themes you've noticed with your clients, because you build brands for your clients. And I want to know, because you have Fortivine, which you'll have to tell us what Fortify to Fortivine. So you have your full-time branding agency, and I know you guys do other stuff too, you and your husband. And you noticed a theme when you were working on content pillars with your clients. You're just like, oh my gosh, everybody, wellness, beauty. And tell us a little bit about the backstory on how Heritage came to be with the work that you do with your agency. And we'll talk more about how we've come together and what you've built. It's not.
Yeah.
So tell us about it.
I love this because everybody has a personal brand, whether they believe it or not, whether they're pursuing it or not. Like, your brand is your reputation, period, end of story.
Mm-hmm.
And today we shot a brand. We had a therapist fly in from Boston. We shot her whole brand, her method. And I literally took her to lunch after we shot the brand. And what is one of the top questions she asked me at lunch? What is more ways I can monetize my brand that's not going to require me to build another program? Like, what is more ways I can monetize? Can you just tell me all the ways that I can monetize? And I'm like, yes. What do you like? Wellness? Do you like beauty? And she's like, I like all of that. Okay. And she's like, yeah, my kid has this food allergy and I eat like this and da, da, da. And I'm like, great. Well, what if I told you you can make up to 40% just sharing these products online, just sharing these products in your newsletter, just sharing these products when you have retreats? And she's like, oh my gosh, that's like a no-brainer. And so this is just one conversation I had 2 hours ago, but this is a common thread for all people, whether they're going to the level of, I want to start a podcast or not. It's going to take a while to get sponsors and stuff. It's like, well, let's utilize this in your personal brand. Let's utilize a company that's 70 years old, that, the formulator invented the multivitamin, that it's clean and clinical, and it's different than what you can get at Costco or GNC or Vitamin Shop. And what if I told you it's like a built-in system that you can have and you can share it as you please, and you can pick one product and rock out with it, like the peptide wands, or you can get involved in the Better Body Blueprint, which is a wellness system we have that sheds inches off your waistline. Like, what if I told you that it's so simple? You just become a brand ambassador. And I just think it's such an intelligent way to build multiple streams of income without you having to formulate the product, do the packaging, all that kind of stuff. And so anytime I'm looking at anybody that is online, I'm like, do you like wellness or do you like beauty? And
all the above.
Or all the above. And I'm going to tell you, like, right now, 80% of the time, it's like, yes, I like, I love gut health. I love that. It's like, great. Okay, let me expand your family's income. And also, not only your income, but you need stuff to offer to people. Like, if you're scrolling online, you can either be consuming or creating, and who's ever on the creating side is winning. Okay. Mm-hmm. And if you're creating, give people stuff that's going to help them. And for me, it's like, even yesterday, me and my husband did a podcast episode all around wellness. And it's like, okay, half of this episode is products that we use and our cold plunge and that's because it's value, and that's what people want. And so, I just think it's like, again, whatever side that you're on, but if you're on the creating side, you're going to need value adds. And this is a great way to bless people's life, both on the consumer side, like if they become a product user, or even if they end up wanting to be a brand ambassador.
I love that. And just put Heritage. I know most of you on here, but if you guys are in Heritage Club already, say I'm in the club. We want to know who's in the club. I see a lot of HCs, but if you want to know more about what she's talking about, put Heritage in the comments and I'll share. And I also, some of our ambassadors have invited people to watch this. And so definitely get back with the person who shared this with you. So when it comes to Heritage Club, which is what you created, within what we're all ambassadors and we're sharing products we love, we're sharing the business opportunity. What would you say to the ladies? Because you built way back OG style when you could put a post up and you'd get sales that day. So what would you say to those that are like, where's my money? Like, Emily, I've been posting, where's my money? Will you hit on to close out how you've noticed the landscape has changed and why relationships are the new economy? Because I know that's number one reason, your brand, obviously, but the number one reason you had the success climbing to the top of the company so fast is because of the relationships you built. Will you touch on that?
Yeah, this is so powerful. And listen, I don't care what you're selling, it requires following up. Like, I've sold everything. I've coached people that have sold everything, high ticket, low ticket, no ticket. We're in the game of attention, which is you showing up consistently and then building relationships and following up. Okay. I'll say it over and over and over again. And so when you're consistent online, you are now top of the mind awareness. They can't forget about you because you're seen everywhere. So that's like half the battle, right? But the other half is picking a product or two that you can't live without. It is so authentic to you, and repeatedly showing the use of that product and benefits of what it does for other people. The minute that I zoned in on the peptide wands, because truly I use them every single day, morning and night, and I started to just show that, the more I saw sales go up. Why? Because people need to see something 7 to 10 to 30 times even before they go, what actually like is that? Like, they need to see that repetition, right? And so I would say zone in on a couple things, more storytelling instead of actually selling as well. And then have your own launch event. Before my call with Dr. Kimberly here, I launched another team member, and she's a podcaster. She teaches podcasting, right? But she knew I need to individually invite people to become brand partners with me. I need a private event where I can share what I'm doing. And so, I texted her early this morning and she's like, I'm inviting away, like, gosh, voice messaging really does work. I'm like, that's the way, because people have gotten really lazy with things and it doesn't feel special or personal when it's not personal. So, having that personal touch especially if you're thinking of like, I want to build something like this, but I want brand partners. I want people that are doing what I'm doing. Well, then you need to have deeper conversations. And that does require being intentional. And how I have climbed to the top, if I look at the intentional people I've partnered with, yes, them seeing me on social definitely helps because I'm top of the mind awareness, but it's because I sent them a voice message. I stayed to them, right? And that's a really big.
You hopped on a Zoom with me. I didn't know you. We'd spoken at an event before, but we didn't actually meet. You hopped on a Zoom with me right when I was like looking at it. You're like, let's get on a Zoom, and I'm like, wait, Emily's going to get on a Zoom with me on a Sunday afternoon. So there you go. Like, case in point, like that was my experience, and that blew me away. Like, I was like, wow, she's so focused on this, and you've been like that ever since. Just you are present, you are developing your people, and you got to walk the talk. You got to be using the products, you got to be working with your people, and like, not to interrupt, but like, you are doing it. You really are like leading by example. So thank you for that. You're the best. And Julie from LinkedIn, I want to give you a shout out, Julie. Visibility creates credibility. Exactly.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. Like having that, being top of mind, like you said, but then behind the scenes, you guys, How many conversations are you getting into? How many people are you sharing? Inviting to events. Event marketing is the best thing ever. Like, let others do the heavy lifting. You just invite, and then you stay on top of it and follow up. You do that and stay the course, you guys, you will reap the rewards for many weeks, months, and years to come. So guys, go follow Emily. Is it the Emily Ford? Is that your Instagram?
It's Emily. It's Emily.
It's Emily. It's Emily.
Yeah.
Okay, it's Emily. I should know that. So you guys follow her on Instagram, give her a little tag and say, hey, in your stories, let her know that you watched this interview. And if you guys want to chat about Heritage Club, connect with the person who invited you to watch this, and you get to mentor and partner with me and Emily and Sarah Robbins and the whole crew. So thank you so much, Emily, for doing this. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Bye.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.